the storm sewer fallout, I think that's why that property is there.
Okay.
What's that person's name? That White House that lives, you have to,
So you're the right
it's
one.
all gravel. Reboses. Reboses, it's
Oh,
right,
okay.
right next to that. But it's on Linden.
All right, Polsix are.
Starts in 4 minutes.
That's ordinance.
Walnut?
But it's.
One corner.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like there's a couple houses on
Yeah,
Linden and then that
gotcha.
big vacant property that
Yeah,
Okay.
has the sewer.
One
whatever
car
it
or
is.
how many cars?
just one.
You haven't seen it move.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, that's Nick.
Oh.
It is very.
Yes, it would.
Long 68.
Make it too long, you fall asleep.
Yeah, we had like 150.
I had one. One
Kevin doesn't count.
No, like, I threw bowl candy out and then I came over by your place and then I left over there, went over by Kevin's place.
Look at the right one person.
On my right, one, but on my whole street, only 2 people, I'm one of 2 people that I like. Nobody on the whole street is their light. But Marine Parkway gets all that traffic and then I get nothing.
Yeah, well, you saw all the cars on my street.
I
last
know, but it's been like that every year since I moved in. Like I watched on my right, I had, it was 2 bigger kids in there. And they literally took one, I had a huge bowl candy, they took one. Whatever.
I had no kids after 7:15. Nothing.
Really?
Wow.
I saw kids starting down Marine at 5 o'clock yesterday. Like, oh, we got the cable already.
Awesome. Good for them. Oh,
I don't start till 6.
Those were the go-getters.
overachievers. I like it.
I had kids that lived 2 doors down from me, so I had not much left of that big bucket that I had. I went over there and I told the kids, I'm like, open your bags. Their dad's like, "Are you
That's why I
sure
used to love going at 8, like a little after 8. Then you just get everybody that's just like, okay, here you go. it's
And
done.
that's what I was doing. I was just,
We got to a couple houses that had no candy left, I took some out.
She took-
everybody's bag and threw it in
Just
their
go to the
bowl.
kids' bag and put it in their bowl.
They already have enough candy. They're like, "Give it to
Hilarious.
us."
I had all these
And
kids
nobody
screeching.
took from our bowl, so we had plenty of candy at home still, which was actually their trick or treat candy for the camp.
All these kids were screeching, the glow stick house, oh, it's the glow stick house. It's like, oh God, yes, it's the glow stick house.
Maybe today.
Parents and kids love the damn glow sticks.
Did you not pass out today?
No.
That's our age neighbors.
No.
Got bottles of Fireball. So they
What, they're 22
They
inch
did
glow
last year,
sticks, I mean,
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
two
they
next
were-
door get out those tennis balls.
I still had one that was, that I used for myself that was still lit this morning when I got up. I'm like,
yeah.
damn
She
thing
always
was
brings 3 over for me every year.
high quality.
before The kids start, so for the dogs. She always brings 3 over.
But yeah, no, I just glow sticks. They're expensive. The kids love it, the parents like it,
Safety.
it's safe.
I gave Mr. Morris an R-Type binder if any other members of council are very interested in R-Type history.
I'm gonna scan it and share it with anybody who wants it.
You scan that whole binder?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I bought over the Prime Days,
A high
because
speed
there's a lot of documents that, or things that I
Scan
want
to
to
your
scan
email.
in the history group. They'll scan a book, like a standard textbook. You lay it on a black mat, and they said you can scan a standard textbook in about 7 minutes. You're just constantly flipping pages, hit the foot pedal and scan it, flip the page, scan it. It will supposedly do photographs and everything. This thing's full of photographs.
Don't you have iPhone?
No, I can get scanning apps for the Android, but
I suppose this iPhone's just like, well, now the Android does it too. You hold it over the document, it's a scanned document.
yeah,
I say we call this meeting to order.
yes.
We had 2 items on our agenda for today. One was the draft of the right-of-way, which Mr. Lyons confused with the old one of 1038 that was drafted last year, and he made changes to that one when we all agreed that we wanted to stay with 1022 and make amended changes to that one. So I have a phone call with him tomorrow, and I will hope to have that draft for the agenda meeting on Thursday with the changes that we all discussed. So the second item we had is the housing inspections. And I gave everybody a copy of the email that I sent to Holly with her responses. So if you guys want to take a minute to read her responses. Did you want to come?
No, I'm good. I'll listen. So,
So I have a question. How many people do we have back in the search department?
yes.
So 5 people. All right. So my first question to Holly was, what would the cost be to have 2 service employees certified in home inspections, and what with what they currently do or did, that would be, and what would that cost be? To be a certified home inspector, you need 80 hours of classroom instruction and then 40 hours of field experience, and then pass the National Home Inspector exam. Cost would depend on the company school that is used to complete the education, and the license is good for 3 years. Continuing education is currently at 14 hours per year. The training would depend on class time and location. So either daytime hours, which would pull them off of the city, off of their current jobs, or after hour school, which would then incur overtime expenses. I want to hit on that one first, since that was part of the first question. And the second question I had is, what would the continuing education be if needed, and how often, and the cost of that? I did not look into the cost because I don't know what type of school that they would need to go to for this training.
Something like that, where
You must be, Michelle, I can't hear.
Brett did an online class for home inspecting. When he first became service director. That cost over $1,500. That was well over years ago. And that was just online general class. It wasn't something like this.
But it wasn't for a certified home inspector.
I don't remember. I'd have to look back at it. But I know it was a home inspection.
I did start to look at other cities. And it seems like we're getting away from interior inspections. There's like Willowick, they do a dye test for the lines. Other cities, I think it's Fairport that I looked at. They do the exterior and check the downspouts. Make sure those are clear. But I haven't, there may be some that do interior, but between Holly and I, we've always thought the liability of missing something compared to if you're gonna buy a house, which you recently just purchased. In my opinion, I would definitely go hire somebody that does a thorough inspection of outlets, of everything. Because I don't, I think the training would be good. And, you know, let's say we're in the middle of winter, they're out plowing, you know, 24 hours for whatever reason, we get a bad snow and then they, oh, by the way, I gotta go to class Tuesday. Or something pops up, trees fall down, you know, anything like that with 5 guys. Something could happen, but I don't want to get into the fact that, okay, we're gonna come in and do an interior inspection, but by the way, if we miss something, we're not gonna be liable for it, because, you know, I think if, you know, Jim was here lying, he would say, well, that's really not gonna hold up in court, the court. You know, we've had a couple, I know, one individual I've been dealing with a bad driveway for a couple years now. And he keeps talking about we're liable, or the county is liable. He hasn't quite figured out who. But this same gentleman accepted in the agreement that he would incur any expense that and signed off on it. I feel bad because he's getting water in the garage and things like that, but he'll call occasionally and just, you know, vent about the situation. But I always tell him, I said, I have, you know, your disclosure that you gave me that says, you know, you accepted everything to do with that. We came out, we looked at the exterior and we didn't see it. So it's things like that that, you know, it's, yeah, it's an expense, you know, 500 or however much it is now, but it's well worth it, you know, somebody professionally look at and then, you know, give you every detail on your outlets or plumbing or everything else like that. I just feel like we should really not get into that business or get out of it and just look at an exterior and say, you know, gutters are fine, or you know, maybe check the storm sewer out front or something like that. But the interior, you could spend, I think, hours in there, you know, probably 2 to 3 hours to try to figure out everything that could possibly, you know, be wrong or right, things like that.
When I did have my home inspection, it did take 4 hours.
Right.
And I just have a ranch house with, I mean, it's a full basement, but the full basement doesn't go the whole width of the house. But 4 hours for a ranch house. And I know Wickliffe, the only thing they do is a sewer dye test.
Right.
That's the only inspection they do for Wickliffe.
And sidewalks, right?
And sidewalks.
Right.
Just for what it's worth, I did Google Ohio Home Inspector training. This company had offered it for $700 online. It's totally online.
Is that for a certified home inspector?
And that's what it says. They offer different packages, but it's more designed to, if you go up in the package, it goes from 700 to 900 to 1300. But they offer like online mold certification courses for the top one, radon certification courses. But it does vary. What is it? Step one.
I don't think- If we're going into the home inspection business to be certified home inspectors, then somebody should go into business. But I don't think the city should be taking on the liability of saying, we have certified home inspectors, so we can do this certified home inspection for you. I think it's not what we're here for. Enforcement of our zoning code, absolutely, that's what we're here for. But if you are buying a home, just like your realtor would tell you, it's up to you if you get the home inspection or not. If you don't, then any problems, that falls on you.
When I think right now, this is just for
Yes.
rentals. This
Yeah.
is just for rentals.
Yeah, and I don't, it puts us in a bad spot.
I would agree. I don't think we should be in the business of home inspections. Like Michelle said, ordinances, any kind of zoning issues that we might see, yes, I would agree. But to go in and have a renter say, okay, you're an inspector, okay, great, but what if you missed one thing? That renter's gonna come back and say, hey, you told me that you were certified home inspector. I mean, that's not what we're in the business for, to be a home inspector. The renters, it does open the can of worms.
And, as I mentioned during the last council meeting, I would want to put the onus back on the rental property owner. Who is in there? What is their phone number? If you've gone in on an annual basis and made sure that, not a true home inspection, but made sure that, it's in good order, it's in livable condition. And it's on you as the property owner, not as people saying,
We're not
On
your
us to-
management company.
right,
Right. I mean, I would even take it one step, exactly, get the homeowner's name, number, the renter's name, number, maybe even create like a little checklist for the homeowner. Is the water running? Does smoke alarms work?
Right.
Is the pilot on the furnace, on the hot water tank? Do you have hot water? Is the furnace running? Does the AC unit turn on? Just a normal general checklist that possibly we can give them as a suggestion of things that they should check before they rent the house out to the next person.
I think they should do that annually, and then I think every either 3 or 5 years, they should be required to have a certified inspection done and then register that with the city.
Yeah, we just had, like I said, in the last couple of cases where people own these and they're down south somewhere. And people all of a sudden, they suddenly move out. Sometimes they don't even say, hey, all of a sudden they're gone. And we know who owns it, but when you have an Atlanta, Georgia address, hey, I need you up here to take care of your property, and I maybe be up next month or so. But I did get some of the checklists, and I do want to give you guys an example of what that, like you said,
Right.
what are the basics that somebody really needs, like hot water, it's a plumbing, things like that. But, to Rob's point too.
Right.
I mean, it should be, spend the $500, whatever it is, every 2 to 3, 5 years, and make sure that everything's the way, because you own it, and if the place is trashed, you're gonna have to, fix it up.
Right.
I think too, on our website, I think we could maybe do a better job of having information on there available, like if you're a renter and you're having problems, like you can contact this person, or you can contact that person. I even think, because I've not been able to find it on the city website, I even think for like people who are moving to the city, it should be on there, like, for your electricity, you call First Energy; for gas, you call Dominion; for trash, you call Republic. I think that's something that should be on there that's easily accessible.
And maybe even
That
a
would be
link to,
helpful.
fair housing
Yeah.
for, renters coming into the community. If you have any rental problems with, your landlord or the management company of the apartment that you're renting, please contact fair housing. They are here for you. It's no charge to the resident, the tenant, the renter. But to advocate more for them, I think that is the more sensible way to go. I do not think having a certified home inspector to do a complete inside outside that would take 3 to 4 hours is in our best interest right now.
I think we need to amend it to continue to work zoning inspections, whether it's
Exterior.
the exterior zoning inspections. I think we do that like every 2 years or something.
Yep.
I mean, if, trust me, if neighbors don't like what's going on at the rental home, you're gonna get it.
I have mixed emotions about everything. Everybody spoke about it. and listened patiently. I'm curious, what is the county fair housing? What do they,
Fair Housing Resource Center.
what do they do?
So if you're a renter.
Yes.
And just say your ceiling is falling in.
Mhm.
You can call them. They will be in contact with the owner of the property. And they will work out with you. They say, okay, Mr. Morris, you pay us your rent money every month, and we will hold that like in an escrow account
Uh-huh.
until the landlord can prove to us with receipts, documentation that the work has been done. And then once that work has been done, they will then turn over those rent monies to that owner. And then they will say, okay, Mr. Morris, we see that everything's repaired. Is it okay with you? And you say yes, then you continue to go back and pay your landlord your rent.
I wonder
And
how
they
long
have
it
a
takes them to
whole-
respond to a complaint.
Very quickly.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Also too, like with them, if they have, because they work with all of Lake County, so if they have a landlord who is a slumlord and they're getting complaints from several tenants about one individual, then they can kind of bring it together and handle it as a whole and address that person.
And I can tell you, I do know firsthand that they do work very quickly. My son bought a house over on Goldenrod.
Mhm.
He was served with papers from the courts saying that he was being pulled into a lawsuit. His name was on the lawsuit. The previous owner's name was on the lawsuit. And the previous renter's name was the person that was suing all of them, because they said that they were being discriminated against because they had a service dog.
Why your son?
Because when they pulled the property records,
Uh-huh.
his name was as the new owner.
Gotcha.
So my son quickly called over to Fair Housing and got his name removed from it. They had to go to the lawyers, and he got, finalized paperwork and everything saying that he was going to be excluded from the lawsuit. I mean, it took like 3 days
Uh-huh.
for them to clear that up. Oh, yes.
To address Ms. Moore's comment about accessibility on their city webpage, are the community head title facilities is listed?
The facilities is listed. I know that there's lots of people who say that they look there and they can't find it, so if, I know how like on the front page we have all the
Under
different
community.
ones, yeah. What was that?
Under community utilities is listed.
easier to find on there than others.
Anything else, Mr. Morris?
Things have been are puzzling. And I know the rental inspection is designed for zoning inspection. But the one thing that was pointed out to me multiple times is how many times it isn't zoning, it's more fire prevention. You'll see a picture of a house for sale or for rent in our city that has a fire pit that is definitely illegal. It's too close. And a lot of that, you can use them because they're there. Wonder if there's a way to get that included, so the inspector sees it on the exterior inspection, is there a way to at least notify the fire department?
Well, I mean, the fire, I'm sorry, you said a fire pit being too close?
Yeah.
Is that in our ordinance that it has to be so many feet away?
It's in the fire permit.
If it's being used. There's no illegal to have a fire pit sitting there,
No, but I
At all.
guarantee you they're gonna get used.
same one or another. I just said,
That
we
would be
can't.
up to the fire department too.
It's gotta be an
They're
illegal
not
act
notified
at
of
the
it.
time. We can't,
They're not gonna see it. There's nothing to do.
I don't know how you tell somebody, hey, your fire pit's too close.
They shut one down yesterday.
They
Across the
did.
street from
They
me.
absolutely did.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
It's got smoked out the whole neighborhood.
And I have a fire pit that's in my backyard that the previous owners just used block, and I think I've used it maybe 2-3 times.
25 foot, anything combustible, it's illegal.
Oh, I mean, it's not close to the house, it's far back in the property, it's nowhere.
But that's my point.
Right,
I've seen a lot of it. They've been pointed out to me. When I was a fire inspector, I used to go and tell them, they can't have that fire pit. Because you can see that they obviously used it. Obviously. But I know that's more the fire department. I would think our zoning inspector should notify the fire department that they found that.
a fire pit,
Yes.
would you say one that is like man-made or something that they bought from like Home Depot?
If the fire code is really kind of tricky because the state, if the products of combustion go through a chimney alarm, it's permissible, which to me is really screwy, but that's what's, so like those chimeneas, those are permissible. If you have a fire pit that is up off the ground typically, and they have a little stack on top of it like that, that according to state fire marshal is permissible. But if they get one of those fire bowls, that's not permissible. If it's closer than 25 foot. Besides that, in our area, we fall under EPA, and it's not allowed to burn anything. It's about
Fall under what?
the EPA, which
Well,
is part of Lake County Health Department.
I guess my question is too, like, are you talking a portable fire pit versus a permanent fire
Any
pit?
kind of fire pit. Fire pit is a fire pit.
When I'm not using mine, I pulled it by the house so it doesn't get rained on.
Okay,
But it doesn't mean I'm using it by my house.
but very few of them are that portable. Yeah, I'm not
Oh,
just
no.
community actors.
I would say a lot more for than the
I
other
have-
thing you say. A lot more,
I have,
100%.
I've seen a lot of them, are those landscaping blocks done in a circle. They look nice.
So I would call
Matter
it
of
more
fact, just the
permanent.
other day, I saw
I
some.
would-
Permanent one.
That's permanent. Well, like the ones I've seen mostly are on wheels.
I have seen people stacking in all kinds of lawn waste and to burn. They're not stacking it there for the garbage. bin.
So is that that's a fire thing?
It's more a
and not
fire
a
thing,
zoning
yes.
thing,
That's
right?
why I said that the zoning inspector should notify because they're doing a legal walk around this place.
So do rental homes get inspected by the fire department?
None. At least they had to work when I was there.
Only apartments,
Only apartments, not homes.
common areas.
Just a thought.
At least they did do common areas. I don't know.
They should be.
Have you given any comments? I never do.
Yeah,
So with all this conversation, where are we at with this now?
I mean, I would be in a vote to not have a certified home inspector on staff. I would just leave it to external zoning, would be my opinion. And to have a checklist annually for the landlord. certain things that we would recommend them checking, like I said, water's running, they have heat, they have the hot water, the furnace is lit, the pilot's lit. The gutters are working, they're not overflowing. And then every 3 to 5 years, have the homeowner have an inspection and have that filed with the city. And with that as well, as long as the city would have some type of form drawn up, that we have contact information for the renter as well as the owner.
This checklist you referred to, who would fill that out?
The owner.
Okay. That seems reasonable.
I'm sorry.
I said, that seems reasonable.
I look at it almost as, renewing your business permit.
Thoughts, comments?
I think we're gonna have a hard time. When landlords, if we ask for a private home inspection.
Then don't rent your house out. We have no obligation to allow them to rent their house out.
I would say, and this is the thing, maybe every 5 years or something, I don't know.
I would stretch it to every 5.
I would go every 5 years. Because what's the difference which is the city inspections, I don't remember how much they were, I'm looking at here.
What is our inspection fee for a rental?
What's the difference if they're paying us or someone else for that? You know,
So $30 rental fee for that, okay?
Yeah.
What is the rental fee for apartments?
what was
You'd
that?
say
$30.
$30 per home or apartment.
$30
Per
per apartment.
Per car, home or apartment, it says according to Holly,
Yeah.
every 3 years.
That's understood.
That's $10 a year.
Per apartment though?
Per apartment.
Every
And we were looking into changing.
Apartment
Yes.
is like,
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Normandy over there has 200 and some apartments.
Yes, it's
That's-
$30 times 200 and something.
That's insane.
But they're
Isn't
not
that-
all done at the same time though, am I right? I think they're,
No, yes.
It's a
Yeah.
rotating.
it's a
Those split
rotating.
Right,
It's a
but,
rotating.
but still. if you
But to
look at
that
it
thing, you're looking
yearly,
at a whole
right,
building versus single
Right.
apartments now. That's something
Right.
we have to look at changing
Right.
because that is
We
not,
have to look
Right.
at changing that.
I mean, I think $30,
if you're going in, I understand. That's a
Right.
difference. I would agree with that. Now, if we're doing outside, we're gonna have, this is something's future, whatever. I don't know. But we're gonna have to restructure that. That's
no, I think
wrong.
we have it on the table. I
Yeah.
think we need to clear it up now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's mine.
Yeah.
We can't do it per apartment.
Right, because I just want to,
And especially if we're only gonna do zoning,
right,
we're going outside, we're looking at the gutters, looking at windows, make sure there's no cracks in windows, sidewalks, make sure there's cracks, they're filled,
yeah, no, I want to clean this
That's
all up
gotta-
now. I don't want to have to come back.
then that's
You know what
gotta
I
be
mean?
a set.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't do per apartment.
right. So $30 per home every 3 years, is that reasonable? It averages out to $10 a year.
We're only sending somebody out, how often?
Every 3 years, unless,
Then I think
Every
that
3
would cover,
years.
like I said, we're not in business to make money, we're here to cover our costs.
Exactly.
I think if they feel that $30 is sufficient for one guy to go out, how long is it gonna take him, maybe travel time and all, let's say an hour. Will that cover the expense for that?
It should.
There's a report to write up after.
Yeah, because we would have to file.
No, I would
I would want something on file.
I want
yeah.
all expenses, like if it's gonna take him 2 hours, then we need to cover the costs.
Exactly.
Inspection would take 2 hours to file a report.
What was that?
I said, that would be one heck of an inspection if it took them 2 hours, including filing the report.
Yeah.
So that's including travel, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're taking him off of another,
Well, I mean, I think just for apples to apples, I think you get the same inspection for point of sale as you would a rental if we're talking just exterior, right?
Yeah, right,
So when
right.
I just had my house inspected, I think that they were there maybe 15, 20 minutes, 30 at max.
Yeah.
So then
what
maybe
did
half
you
hour.
pay?
I,
Curious.
well, I think it was more. I think for a point of sale, I want to say it was like 60 or 70,
Yeah.
maybe 100 for a point of sale inspection.
It was more than 30.
It was more than 30.
My son just had it done a couple.
So why is it different?
We're not, we're cleaning this one up
Yeah.
first, and then we're gonna go to
Well,
point
I
of
mean, make
sale.
it the same as the other point of sale, maybe, I don't
You
know.
Right.
know, a point of sale, like they have to send a certain form to the title company or something,
I did.
or,
The city does?
yeah.
I think so.
Goes to the
You're
title
right.
company,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
okay,
something.
yeah.
So there's
So
a
there might be
difference.
some difference, okay.
If you think $30 covers it,
I do, because I really think they were there max 30 minutes.
Okay.
At the house.
that can always be changed if need be, right? I mean, it's not like it's.
Right.
Cost go up.
Right. So then on apartments.
So,
Dollars. For years. Right. So apartments.
I'm mixed, because you've got little apartments down the street that are gonna take them 15 minutes versus going up to
But again, we're just doing
outside one per
outside
building.
zoning.
I
But
get
if we
it.
go back to the routine where we were discussing, Holly wanted us to address the charges by, I think by building, by a number of units.
Right.
So that would
Yeah.
all take that into consideration when we get to that point. Wouldn't it?
Now, when they do apartments, do they at least do common areas, not individual apartments, but they will go inside, correct?
The common area.
Checking the
Hallways.
stairs, hallways, make sure that the treads and the stairs aren't, okay. Railings, stuff like that. So a little bit more.
I'm trying to find an email now with
It's-
Holly's.
It was proposed two options. First one is a flat fee of $250 per building, or whatever council deems fair. Option two, going with 10 units per building at $250, 11 to 20 units per building, 500, 20 plus units, $1,000.
Those numbers seem high, but it's far less than they're paying now. I mean,
Right.
tremendously, if you think about it.
And, you know, again, that's Holly's numbers on,
I get-
you know, the nonprofit
Sure.
part of it.
30, you said, what was the highest one? 100 units or more?
20 plus at $1,000 flat fee. 10 units per building, 11 to 20 units per building, and then 20 plus.
It's like plus, they were like 30.
20 plus, I think would apply to Andrew's Place.
Yeah.
Andrew's Place, I'm trying to think how many are in a building over here on Southwest Northwinds.
They vary by how many stories there are.
Yeah, because there's 3 or 4,
Four per level.
4 per level, and 2, some of them have 2 doors. That would be 4, 8, 12, so maybe max 24. Per building here, maybe. Solana Woods is the one that has the most.
Per building.
Or Andrew's Place, I'm sorry.
And
Andrew's
what about
Place.
that one, on Marine by Plains?
Revere.
Yeah,
Reserve.
yeah.
Those are all
Those are,
individual buildings.
yeah, they're all individual buildings, but I don't know how many units are in
There's 4 per building in there.
Four.
Floor.
per floor.
Yes.
4
Are they
units.
big 3 floors?
Some are 2,
No,
some
they're
are
all-
3.
You're right, Michelle, some are 2, some are 3.
That's just-
I mean, I think option 1, in my opinion, the flat rate of $250 per building.
Yeah,
Bring you
3
back
years,
to.
Every 3 years.
Anchor apartments or whatever, where there's only. That's it. down.
I like the second option because then it's more fair based on how many.
The second option is less than 10 is still 250. So you're still back at 250.
But then if you have, because doing anchor apartments
Hmm.
is gonna be a lot different than doing Harmony or
How many are at Anchor?
anchors one
Single
floor,
level,
it's single level, I don't know. how many
Is that the
are
one
down there.
that's on Linden and?
It's similar
Andrews?
to that.
I'm just thinking like a smaller.
Right.
You actually have several of the smaller.
I know.
Yeah.
Blue ones.
You have the green ones, the blue ones, the ones at Linden and Andrews.
Sure, the
The ones
ones-
by Biggies,
The one at-
There's some on Walnut too.
on Walnut,
Yeah.
behind the
There's also
Rotary,
Brownies, which is off of Andrews.
There's quite a few.
by the road. By the Rotary, there's that one.
So do you want to say like 1 to 5 units?
Mhm. It's not gonna take much more than just doing the outsides, the common areas. A lot of us don't have common
Right.
areas,
A lot of them.
so you're just doing the outside again.
$100. I mean, because
Yeah.
again, it's going to be the same. You're going to come back and do reports on all of them.
Let's see if it's reasonable.
Number two.
So then you have 5 to 10, right?
Sure.
Just to
You wanna
get
go
those
$50 increments?
$50 increments, okay, so do 150. And then you have, no, that would be 6 to 10, excuse me. Take that back. So then we would have 11 to 20 units, which now you're jumping up,
Another 10. Extra.
right? Thoughts?
Sounds good.
And then 20 plus, or 21 plus.
It's not gonna be that much more work-wise.
Right.
I would-
What are we checking?
So just as a recap,
So you're saying 21 plus.
so as a recap, we have 1 to 5 units, $100. 6 to 10 units, $150. 11 to 20, $250. And 21 plus, $350.
Run that 6 to 10.
6 to 10,
Yeah,
150.
okay.
11 to 20, 250. 21 plus, 350.
So
Just for the benefit, the ones that are at the corner of Linden's and Andrews. Looks like there's 6 apartments in there.
And those I do not believe they have any common areas.
No,
It's
they
it's
don't.
almost like apartment or hotel style
Right.
setup.
And I can't tell if any of those doors would lead to a laundry room or anything. So it looks like there's 3 doors per leg of that.
Right. And that's, again, that's a ranch style. There's no second level.
Nope.
You know, should be easier to. On the bigger sized units, like the 21 plus, how many guys do we have do a big complex for that many units in a day?
Probably just Corey.
Just one?
Yeah.
Do you know how long it takes to do that many?
You know, this point, Corey, and Chuck are doing most. Corey doing the housing, Chuck doing driving stuff, extra drivers.
Right.
Things like that. And, you know, mix and match between the two. Right, whatever else. And then, you know, the rest. Generally.
So the only people be opposed to this would be currently your 1 to 4 range, parking wise. For staying current versus going to this new system. So I think it's fair. And the reason I say that is because what they're paying currently to what they will be paying. You know, they were paying $30 for one, now they're going up to 100. It starts evening out at the 4 or the 5. Other than that, everybody else has dropped significantly. Especially your 21 plus, going from paying $630 a year now down to $350.
Paul, your thoughts?
Don't see a problem with what we're proposing. I'm sure other people disagree with that.
Well, if it's a single unit, I don't see where.
It's actually a residential, you're right, I don't think you're ever gonna get a fine.
Right.
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
you're pretty much gonna please everybody in this scenario of how you're changing the structure.
Well, maybe we should do it 2 to 5, just so it's not confused with a rental home.
Is anything, well, you got a duplex, so don't do that.
There's 2.
Or if this is not considered an apartment, right?
Are we talking units, like is a duplex
Yeah.
2 units?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just,
I think
it
we
covers,
do.
it, right? I mean, is it,
If
Or
you
when
actually changed the marriage, there's a house on the corner of
can you consider it?
Melody Lane and Salida. It was a duplex rental unit. That's at least one that it used to be that way, whether it is now, I don't know.
I mean, I think it would, I don't know, I would like to see 2 to 5 instead of 1 to 5, because just, that way it's just not confusing
Sure.
The house.
Go
the
for it.
house. Anything else? We will adjourn at 6:43. Thank you, everybody.
If I retract my last statement, then it's only the